day.
I don't know why I always hit that button. Oh, yes. Welcome to the Sports Porch Philadelphia.
Welcome, everybody. Boy, if the
Here.
Phillies weren't in the NLCS starting tonight, it would be a horrible day. But
Well,
thankfully, we got Bryce Harper and the boys
yes.
coming on tonight.
Before we get there, I want to thank you for watching the Sports Porch Philadelphia all over the world on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, X, and also, of course, subscribing to the podcast, the Sports Porch Philadelphia, anywhere you get your podcasts, iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, and you can always visit us online at theporcheslive.com, theporcheslive.com.
Theporcheslive.com. Click on the Philadelphia tab. It's the only tab that matters.
It's the only one.
Sure
the
is.
only one. So before the show started, of course, Mark and I, we talk a little bit. We take some notes. Sometimes we don't. And I said I was going to ask the tough questions about the Eagles today, and Mark said he wants to do a long diatribe before I ask the question. So the Grand Schwabini, the floor is yours. Please, diatribe.
Here we go, diatribe. Well, you know what? It was interesting because as I thought about what we're going to talk about on the show this evening, I kind of realized that as crazy as it is, the Eagles have become so good that we almost never lose. If you think about it this way, last year they lost the Super Bowl. And in the regular season, outside of, Gardner Minshew having to play 2 games, the only loss they had during the regular season really was the Washington Redskins loss.
Right.
And then, if you start going back in terms of games Jalen Hurts has played, the season before, there was something like 2-5, and then they went on a run to make the playoffs. So, essentially going into yesterday in the last 23 starts with Jalen Hurts, the Eagles were 22-1 in the regular season.
Right.
And so now we're 22-2. And I just began to realize, wow, the Eagles really almost never lose. And so when they do lose, like they did I'm not going to count the Super Bowl, but like they did to Washington last year and this game, it seems like everything in the world has to go wrong for them to lose. So for example, in the Washington game last year, there were 4 turnovers, right?
Right.
In this game, there were 4 turnovers, right? And couple that with, the Eagles not getting any turnovers themselves, so they were -4. And really, in a simple way of looking at the game, you can say, if you go -4 in the turnover battle, you really can't expect to win. Even if you go -3,
Right.
you can't expect to win. But here's what I'm going to tell you. All the things that went wrong yesterday.
Okay.
And believe it or not, I only think Hurts made one mistake yesterday.
Okay.
And his mistake was the last interception. Because it was pretty obvious. Like he was out of the pocket. He didn't have anybody in front of him. And he's looking at Goddard. And he's in between 2 guys. It's like, why on earth did he throw that ball? That's a real head scratcher. So that was his grave mistake of the game. But you go back to the Goddard interception. I mean, for crying out loud. I mean, you have it in your hands. You've caught the ball. I almost was wondering, like, was that a catch and a fumble? You
Right.
know?
Right.
Like, like you caught the ball and then somebody hits you and then you start like moving the ball and it like
Right.
hits your leg and it pops up in the air and like, some defensive lineman who never has a chance at an interception gets it, you
Right.
know?
Right. I saw
Then
that one. Yep.
yeah, then you've got the DeAndre Swift. I mean, he just lost the ball. I mean, it was right in his hands. He lost the ball.
Right.
Then you talk about like, I mean, how unreal is it for Devontae Smith to have the two drops that he had? And the one drop that he had was, potentially a touchdown. I mean, they were like, it was right in his hands. I mean, he makes all those acrobatic catches in the on the sidelines and going up for jump balls, and he had nobody within 10 yards of him, and he hits him in the hands, and he drops the ball. In that 4-minute drive at the end of the game, Hertz does the incredible escape and puts it right in the hands of Kenny Gainwell, and he drops the ball. Then you've got, I mean, it just like it goes on and on and on. Then you have the missed field goal.
Yeah,
Jake,
that was not
Jake,
expected at all.
yeah, Jake Elliott, Mr.
Mm-mm.
Automatic, 50
Yeah.
to 60 yards automatic. I don't know, what was that, like 29 yards? I don't know what it was, but it was
Yeah, it
really
was a
close.
shorter one. Yeah, it
It
was
was
definitely short for him.
it was really close. Then you also had, and look, the one guy I will give a pass to on this game would be AJ Brown, because he did have 139 yards receiving, made a really big catch
Seven
at the end of the game.
7 for 131.
Right. So he had a great game. But still, in the first half, he stops running on that deep ball that Jalen Hurts throws
Yeah,
him.
yeah,
You know,
that was he wasn't thinking on that one.
yeah.
Schwaber, I think that the main thing here is that and we
I'm not done my
okay.
diatribe. Then now here's the other thing, and actually this is a really important thing, and actually good news today on Lane Johnson. It's not a high ankle sprain, it's not a broken ankle, it's just a lower ankle sprain. He's week to week, so that's huge. If you go back, like to I saw it in the on the internet today. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was something like, in all the games that Lane Johnson has missed, the Eagles are like, 5-15, something like that.
Right.
So, and also, we've got Cam Jurgens being substituted for, because he's out. He's our starter. We have Sua Opeta in. So all of a sudden now you have that really good Jets defense going up against, a backup right side of your offensive line. And, again, the second interception that Jalen Hurts threw, I mean, I'm just going to credit it as a great defensive play, because the guy hit his arm and so the ball went straight up in the air. It wasn't like he threw a bad pass. It was caused by, a sack. Um, but the bottom line is that sack was around the guy substituting for Lane Johnson, Jack Driscoll. We all know when Lane Johnson's in the game, I mean, eventually it'll probably happen, but he hasn't given up a sack in over 2 years,
Right.
right? So, and what I sort of really criticize there is, look, the bottom line is, yeah, is it going to take a good player out of your offense and Dallas Goedert? Yes, but when you've got Jack Driscoll in there, you've got to help him with Goddard. You can't just leave him on an island out there. Or you've got to sort of assess. It was something like in like a half of football, he gave up like 11 hurries, something like that.
Right.
11 hurries and a sack. You gotta maybe figure something out. Get somebody else in there, right? So
Right. I'm still
so
waiting to step in here.
yeah, not yet.
Okay.
I am diatribing.
All right.
Um, and then, here's the other thing too. So, um, now I also feel that the Eagles really took the Jets for granted. Okay. I actually think one of the worst things that happened to the Eagles was that Sauce Gardner was ruled out for this game, because I think that, basically the offensive coaching staff said, okay, all right, now we can run up some numbers and get Jalen, a bunch of numbers, and the receivers a bunch of numbers, and let's just throw the ball all day. So, you have now a losing formula, throwing the ball over 40 times. You only ran the ball 14 times. I mean, you got the best rushing attack in the league, supposedly. You run the ball 14 times against this team. You know, Inexcusable. Um, and I mean, the bottom line is that I mean, all right, I'm done diatribing. I can't, I mean,
Yeah,
look,
yeah.
you
And Pat chimes in and says his card on Schwabini's has wrecked his pen.
there's a lot
Listen,
of those.
listen.
Yeah.
I have a very serious question for you.
Yes.
Have you talked with your therapist about this loss?
Well, I don't have a therapist. I'm looking for one now, though.
Okay, all right.
And
So
now I'm looking for one.
I think I think you're looking for answers as to why they lost this game, and during the game we were all texting back and forth, and we were watching Cleveland beat up on the 49ers,
Hmm.
and we were watching the Jets hold it tight with the Eagles. They weren't really beating up on them, but it ended up, kind of looking like that.
The
And
Giants almost beat the Bills.
and then later, right, the Bills barely held off the Giants. And what did I text you guys? Any given Sunday. It is the NFL. And I think that, yes, you're right. The Eagles have been winning a lot in the regular season, especially over the last few years. And we're used to a certain level and style of play. And the Jets game was the quintessential trap game, in that I believe they were looking past that game, to their next contest. I think, I don't think, and they have the Dolphins, on Thursday night. So is
Sunday
that
night.
or Sunday night?
Sunday
Excuse me.
night. Yeah.
My bad. But I think that this just shows that the Eagles, they're not the super team that we wanted them to be. And when you win a lot, you feel that way. Did it expose anything? I think maybe it exposed the fact that Jalen Hurts is human. I mean, three
Yeah.
interceptions, not good. And you can come up with all the platitudes about, oh, where where did he make the mistakes? Did he not make the mistakes? He did, the right side of the line wasn't playing well. The defense gave up 20 points.
I mean,
It's
actually, I thought the defense was excellent.
they
I
didn't
mean,
play. They didn't play
the
bad. No.
the only touchdown they gave up, they gave them the touchdown, which
Right.
actually I thought was really smart.
Right.
Just to let them score, and then you have a chance to win the game.
Right. And
You
we
know?
talk about this
Right,
almost
right,
every week
right.
as well. So, one of the questions that I asked is, has Jalen Hurts regressed? And I don't mean that based on just the Jets game. I mean it based on this season. And by regressed, I'm using that term lightly. I'm not suggesting that he definitely has, but I'm looking at, Hurts from this year versus last year. Can you really say it's a regression? I don't think so. And the reason I'm bringing it up is because I've heard it on national radio now. It's
Right,
not me thinking it. I
right.
mentioned it yesterday in passing because I was kind of messing around, but I heard other people talking about it. And
Well, it's the popular thing to talk about. It's like
right, right,
everybody likes to everybody always likes to, take somebody down,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's like, of course, so he has a game where he has 3 interceptions, which he's never had ever. And so, like, now he's regressed. And okay,
Well,
you could say on now look, this you could sort of look at this as like maybe a regression. Like he had a total of 6 interceptions all of last year.
right. And he
And
has 7 this year.
this year he has 7, you
Right.
know.
Right. Along with 7 touchdown passes so far.
Right, which isn't great.
Yeah.
But outside of this game, he's pretty much done everything they've needed to do to win all the games.
Well, yeah, obviously,
You
because they
know?
were 5 and
Right.
0 to begin with.
Right.
Yeah, I think what happens is that any team that is, and I think this happened, it just so happened to happen to both the 49ers and the Eagles yesterday. They both went into cities where they should well, I mean, like the Niners were double digit favorites over the
Right. They
Browns,
both they both should have won, no
where
doubt.
they both should have won, and they played two good defenses and two poor offenses.
Mhm.
And when things didn't go the way that they thought they were going to go in the first 10 minutes, I think what happens is that stuff starts to catch up with you when you're a coordinator. Um, Especially when you're an offensive coordinator. You've got a high-powered offense like the Eagles. You've got Jalen Hurts. You've got, DeAndre Swift. You've got A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert. You've got the best offensive line in football. You're going to roll into New York, and yeah, their defense it's a good defense. It's not the best defense that's ever played the game, but it's a good defense. It's fast. It's got
Right.
speed.
Right.
But you know what? Even on a defense like that, we should put up 23, 24 points. And if we can get it to 30,
Right.
we're going to win the game. And it's all predicated on the fact that Zach Wilson is the quarterback. And you can go to the 49ers game, say the same thing. Now, Cleveland does have an outstanding defense this year, but still, it's a defense, Cleveland. And they had PJ Walker.
Right.
So often we predicate our expectations on what the other team's offense looks like, and we forget about the defense. So, when the defense stopped the Eagles, I mean, they scored 14 points in the first half. Nobody thought that was going to happen. Everybody thought the Eagles would get 17-20 in the first half.
Mhm.
When they keep the game close and then you have those injuries, that game plan starts to kind of crumble, and now you're starting to
Yeah.
push. And when you're starting to push, what do? You're trying to score quick. And how do you score quick? You throw the ball. So they got off their game plan. They weren't running the ball the way you
Right.
think they should have. And really, if you think about it, same reason though. The right side of that offensive line was down. It was bad. It takes the whole offensive line to work to have a good running game. So that's probably why they abandoned it. And they thought, well, look, Hurts is our guy, and he is, and he'll work it out for us. And look, overall, the Jets, I hate to say it, but they played a better game. They had nothing to lose.
Yeah, they did. They
The
did.
Eagles are now
I
12-1 all
yeah.
time against the Jets.
Right, right, right.
So
But the one area of, like I look at it and I think, going forward, what's my area of concern?
yeah,
My area of concern is the offensive coordinator. Now, I don't think that he's bad, but I also don't think that he's good. You know, I think there's a big drop off from Shane Steichen, who's now coaching the Colts.
right,
Just for me, like, okay, like, that last interception that Hurts threw. Okay, you got to put that 100% on Hurts. I mean, because it wasn't open. He forced it in there. Was trying to make a play. Wasn't smart, but still, like, I think about that play and I think about what I was thinking about on 3rd and 8. Okay. Number one, nobody has been able to cover AJ Brown the whole game. Okay.
right,
Um, and so, and what's really the route that nobody can cover most of the time is just that simple slant where he's just too big for whoever's covering him.
Right.
So that would have been a safer pass, right?
Right.
Or, I think what you do is, you get in, Jalen's headset and you say, hey, look, this is what we're going to do. We're going to roll you out, to the right, and, which is the side that he throws better from. We're going to roll you out to the right. And if somebody is, open, throw it. If it's not tight, and if it is tight, try to run for the first down or just slide down, right? And
Right.
then if you don't make it, or even if you just ran the ball, right? Even if you just ran the ball, you're going to take the clock down to 1 minute left. Hopefully you pin them back, maybe the ball's at like the 15-yard line, and they've got to go still like about 50, 60 yards to be able to kick a field goal to try to win the game, you know?
Right.
So I just felt like, that play call to me, it was a very risky play call, because it is the type of throw that if somebody steps in front of it, they can go back all the way. And it just didn't make any sense to me.
Right. Well,
Or
I
or
think
or
the
or,
bottom.
or even or even just on the last drive. Like, you got a 4th and 10, again, like, why are we not like throwing a 15-yard pass to AJ Brown? Why are we throwing it, all the way down the field to Devontae Smith? Yeah, does he make that catch a lot? He kind of does, but at the same time, look, that is a much, much more low percentage play than a 15-yard pass.
And Yo Carey from our Pittsburgh show has chimed in here on the Sports Porch Philadelphia and
Oh,
says, "We will trade you Matt Canada."
no, thank you.
Yeah,
No,
right.
thank you.
Exactly. Exactly.
No,
Well,
thank you.
this is typical of you, Schwaber. I get it. You're reliving that game and wondering why. And I think the bigger question right now is what's coming up, and what's coming up for the Eagles
Sure.
over the next few weeks is not good. They have Miami at home, then they're on the road at Washington, then they have Dallas at home, then they're on the road in Kansas City, Buffalo and San Fran at home, back on the road to Dallas, back on the road to Seattle, and then home against New York, which you would think, they suck, but it's a division game. So you really don't have what you would consider I mean, nothing in the NFL is a cakewalk, but you really don't have a cakewalk until the end of the year, New Year's Eve against Arizona at home. And then you go right back to New York and you finish up with Baltimore, Cleveland, and Indy. So, the bigger question here, they lost. All right. They didn't play their best game. Only one team has ever won it all the way out to the Super Bowl, and that's the 72 Dolphins. Congratulations to them. And Miami, and it happens to be Miami that is coming into town on Sunday night, and they are a high-powered offense. Their defense is good, and they're a potential Super Bowl contender right now in this season, along
Sure.
with the Eagles. So, if Lane Johnson can play, that's good. And they better be game planning for this team, and the defense is going to be put to the test against the Dolphins because they have the likes of Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Tua, Mostert, I guess a chain, or however you say his name, Ashane.
I think
That's
he
how
might be. I think he might be out injured.
I
That
know
guy.
he's out, but
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know how long.
I think it's a 4-gamer. I think he's
Yeah,
like
I
on
think it was.
IR for
Yeah,
4
he'll
games.
be out. But that guy
But
looks
yeah,
like a stud.
yeah. Well, it'll help. It'll certainly help getting Slay and Jalen Carter back next week.
Right.
And that, I also have to say too is like, I also think that was totally taking the Jets, uh, you
For
know,
granted.
uh, for granted. Yeah, there was no reason why Slay and Jalen Carter didn't have to play. There was no reason. They just said, you know what, they're a little nicked up. Let's get them healthy for Miami.
Yeah.
That's what
Well,
it.
and
That's what it was.
the defense still performed
They
okay.
they
So
still played well,
yeah,
but you
yeah,
know what? But Reed Blankenship got hurt again, So now the safety position is in crisis. Justin Evans, our starting safety, opposite him, was out this past week. Sidney Brown, the promising rookie safety, he was out again this week. He's been injured. So, and of course, Avonte Maddox, the third corner, he's out. We're playing with guys like Eli Ricks and Josh Jobe, two undrafted free agents. Mario
Right.
Goodrich, undrafted free agent. I mean, so basically, like, the way I look at next week, you gotta have, Bradbury and Slay attached to Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle the whole game. Like,
Right.
you cannot play any zone.
No,
You
no,
know
it's
what I
got to
mean?
be man. And even that, it's tough. Yeah.
And even that, it's gonna be
Yeah.
very tough,
So
very tough.
they got
So,
to put this loss behind them and
yeah.
rebound going into the Miami
Yeah.
game.
Yeah, I mean, really, the way that they can beat Miami is with pass rush. I mean,
Yeah.
if they get a pass rush and, throws all the timing off and all that kind of stuff, maybe to get a sack fumble on Tua, that kind of thing. That's the only way they're going to win next week.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Although I have to imagine that Miami's defense might not be that good, right? Because, they gave up, 14 early points to a crappy Carolina team. They got blown out by the Bills. So their defense can't be all that great either. So I think it's gonna be a shootout, I think. I think this is gonna be one of those like 40-35 games. Somebody's gonna win, whoever
right.
has the ball last.
Yep, yep. And Yoho's son, who is Yo Carey on YouTube, says the Panthers came out on Miami fast. The Eagles better get a fast lead and play good defense. And right,
Right.
and that's what you kind of expect of the Eagles. So, this is the kind of loss where a team goes back and they kind of reflect on who they are. This was a bad loss.
Yeah.
The nice thing though is it's early in the season. They're 5-1. They've got a commanding lead. And did they lose ground? No, I don't think they did. I think if you're going to
Well,
get
they had an opportunity though. They had an opportunity to be the only 6-0 team,
right,
and they blew it.
yeah,
They
yeah,
threw that out the window. That's not a good thing. But at the same time, look, I didn't think they were going 17-0. So,
right. But
you
this
know,
just wasn't one you thought they would lose. So
yeah,
they've got a hell of a gauntlet coming up here.
yeah,
I'm looking at this schedule. Like I said, Miami, Washington, Dallas, Kansas City, Buffalo, San Francisco, Dallas, Seattle.
yeah,
That is a hell of a gauntlet. And if
yeah.
you're anybody but a team of the Eagles pedigree right now, you're praying to get out of that gauntlet 500. You know what I mean? You're just
Sure.
thinking, how many games is that? 3, 6, 7, 8. Right. You're praying for 4-4 there. If you're the Eagles, what you want to do is you want to get out of that at 6-2.
Right.
If you're going to pick two losses,
Yeah.
you say, okay, if we lose to Kansas City and San Francisco, okay, those are the two of the better teams in the NFL, just like we are. That's, dare I say, acceptable. But the other 6, Washington, Dallas twice, Seattle, Buffalo, we better beat them. So, this is a critical time of year, but will this turn into a critical loss? I don't know. I don't know. They've got this gauntlet coming up, and it's really hard to pin them down right now, because I do think that you're right about the offensive coordinator situation. I don't think it's obviously the offense
Yeah.
is the game planning is different than it was last year.
And here's the thing too. I mean, I also think that at the same time, you got to have a little patience with him too. I mean, keep in mind he's only been an offensive coordinator for 6 games,
Right.
and he won the first 5.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, we can be really critical on him. And last year we had somebody who basically pulled all the right strings all the way to the Super Bowl. So
Yep.
so the bottom line is it's criticism, it's justified, but at the same time, I think that really the 2 games before this game, the Eagles played pretty well. Early in the season, it was like, well, they won, but didn't look too good. But the last 2 games, before this one, they did look pretty good. So, I mean, I think that, you got to allow him time to sort of grow into the role as well. I mean,
Of course.
hopefully if it's getting towards the end of the season, he's hitting his stride. But
Yep.
the one thing I did want to address the question, Steve had asked a question earlier. He said, did Jalen Hurts, own his mistakes?
Right.
And the answer to that is yes, he did. That's the reason why Jalen is my favorite Eagle quarterback of all time. Um, Simply because he's just so good at handling these situations. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
Like, basically well, first of all, one thing that was kind of interesting is usually, the head coach breaks down the game after the game to the team. And he didn't do it this week because the captains on the team, or at least four of them, I know it was Jalen Hurts, Hassan Reddick, AJ Brown. They addressed the team themselves, and they said we all have to take ownership of this loss. You know, what everybody did in this loss contributed to this loss. We win as a team, we lose as a team, and we got to get back to work and we got to correct things. And what happened today wasn't acceptable. And that's what Jalen said as well. He basically just said, blame me. I you know I didn't choose the right read. I just went with my first progression. I didn't look off to the second progression, and I made a mistake. And you know, the good news about Jalen is that when people start talking negatively of him, that just fuels his fire.
Right. Well,
He looks at it as like the way he said it was, you know, it's all about how you come out of this stuff. You can come out of this stuff and say, you know, but you could either blame somebody, or you could really be blaming yourself, or you can choose to look at it as an opportunity to grow. And so I mean that's the right attitude.
sounds like you're ready for your therapy session,
I
Graham
am.
Swabini. Yep. Well,
I am.
I
Well,
hope that goes well for you. So maybe we should move on to something that is more uplifting right now, and that would be that tonight is the NLCS.
well, first,
Go
first we got to
Titans.
first we got to go back for a minute and just talk about the joy of beating the Atlanta Braves.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
Back-to-back years, 100-win team goes down in the second round,
I know.
3 games to 1.
Yeah, the
Um,
Phillies are the Braves' kryptonite. There's no doubt about that. And
yeah,
I said that going into this series. I said, look, the Phillies are not afraid of the Braves. You already know that. And if there's any team the Braves are afraid of, it's going to be the Phillies because they're gritty and tough enough. They know they can beat this team. They beat them last year under almost the same circumstances. And, if somebody's going to take Atlanta out, it's going to be the Phillies. And wouldn't you know it, they did.
they did. And just really good pitching all around. Um, you know, it, Topper does make me a little nervous sometimes. It's a little unorthodox the way he likes to sometimes use his like two best relievers in the sixth and seventh inning.
Seems to
Um,
work, though.
but it does seem to work. Well,
It works.
I mean, well, the amazing thing is like to be honest, like um the reality is almost everybody in the bullpen can throw between 97 and 100 miles per hour. So, like when they went to Strom, to close out the game, I mean, he's throwing in fire. I mean,
Right.
so it's not like they're bringing somebody in who's just they're all pretty good down there. Now, I will say that moving on to play the Diamondbacks, it's a little bit of a um, it's I guess what would the right word be for it? It's kind of like we don't really know what to expect from the
I don't know.
Diamondbacks.
That's
You know what I
exactly
mean?
right. Well, and Zach Gallen's going tonight. He's their ace.
Right.
In the playoffs, he's 2-0 with a 3.18 ERA. He's pitched 11 innings with 10 hits, 8 strikeouts, 5 walks, and a home run. Not I mean, not bad, but not what you would expect. And then you have Wheeler going for the Phils at 1-0, 2.08. He pitched 13 innings, 8 hits, 18 strikeouts, big number there. So,
But like the thing that I guess sort of always worries me a little bit is, I mean, can Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola look? I mean, here's the bottom line: to win the World Series, Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola have to win. Have to have 4 good starts. They've each had 2 good starts. and
right.
and so it's like, well, like sometimes it's just not going to go your way. I mean, sometimes they're going to get hit. Like it's
Yeah.
sort of unrealistic to think that Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola aren't going to have one bad outing the entire playoffs.
Well, and here's the problem with the Diamondbacks for the Phillies tonight, especially. Okay, they're 2, 3, and 4 hitters. Marte, Pham, and Walker are batting lifetime versus Wheeler almost 500.
Are they? Okay.
Yes. Marte is 4 for 10 in his career, batting 400. Pham is 5 for 11 with a homer. Each of them has a homer. 5 for 11, batting 455, and Christian Walker is 9 for 17 with a home run, batting 529. So it's really that 2-3-4 matchup against Wheeler. If he can get through them,
Yeah.
now Gurriel Jr. Is also batting 300. He hits in the 6th spot with a home run, but you've got Moreno on top of him. So it is those 4 guys: Marte, Pham, Walker, and Gurriel. If Wheeler can get past them, the rest of the lineup is pretty. He's handled pretty well.
Yeah.
So that's key. That's going to be key tonight.
Yeah, it is interesting. Now, of course, if those guys hit the crap out of the ball against Wheeler tonight, we'll say, well, see, we told you so. But
right. That's why I said that.
right. But at the same time, what I think is
God, is he intelligent?
Right. At the same time, what I think is kind of interesting is that, and Nick Castellanos, I think, made a really good comment, after he was kind of being a little disrespectful to the guy who interviewed him after the last game. He did actually have a good comment to a question, and he said, basically, he was asked, like, can you believe that, you beat this team 2 years in a row that had 100 wins? And his response was, well, you know what I've come to learn is that regular season and postseason are 2 completely different seasons.
Very true. Very true.
And so when I get at that, like I want to also kind of use as an example Spencer Strider versus the Phillies in regular season play. It's like 8-0 with like a 1.8 ERA,
right.
and in the playoffs 0-3.
Right.
Trey Turner was lifetime 0 for 17 against Spencer Strider. And in that playoff game, he went 3 for 3 with a home run off him.
Right. I mean, and any given day, like football, any given Sunday, any given day in baseball. Now, flipping that script, the Phillies career versus Zach Gallen. 2 guys. Harper is 4 for 12 and Stott is 2 for 6. They're at 333 lifetime. Everybody else, well, Brandon Marsh is 2 for 4. He's at 500, but everybody else is batting not well. Schwarber, 143, Trey Turner, 4 for 18 at 222. Bohm and Real Muto have never gotten a hit off the guy, but they've only faced him 5 and 3 times. So, the book's still open on that. But if I'm following your lead, then they should hit the heck out of Zach Gallen tonight.
Exactly. No. I mean, I think tonight will be a close game. The one thing that is a little concerning about this round, and believe it or not, I mean, you might disagree with me here, but I'll tell you what. The format for the playoffs this year is 2-3-2.
Right.
And the Phillies are the home team. I actually think 2-3-2 almost favors the away team. because if you can get a split,
Right. It does.
then you can come home and if you're able to win out, it's over. You don't have to go back.
Yeah, but
Um,
it's hard to sweep somebody no matter what. I mean, the only team that's
yeah, it
been really
is
hard to sweep was the Orioles, who hadn't been swept
the whole
in like
season.
91 straight series or something like
Right,
that, and
right,
going back to last year, and then they got swept by the Rangers.
right.
So it's hard to sweep somebody. So I can see that argument there that if you get a split, yes, at that point favor goes to the away team
Right.
because you do have 3 straight at home. However, if you're able to pull one out of those 3, then it goes back to you because you end up playing the final game no matter what
Yeah.
at home.
Although kind of though. Like so, it's like let's say you split and it's 1-1 and then you're able to get one in Arizona to get you back to Philly down 3-2 for the last 2 games.
Right.
You still have to win 2 games. I
Well,
mean,
right, of course.
I would still consider like if you're the away team in that scenario, I think that you're still in the driver's seat until if you lose that 6th game,
Right. Right.
but yeah, so I don't know. I mean, like to feel comfortable. I mean, I really want to see the Phillies win both at
Well,
home.
they got to
So
win tonight.
yeah, I
Yeah.
want to win. I want to win both at home.
Yeah.
So we know we're coming back.
The Diamondbacks are sneaky. That's the thing about them. They're a sneaky team.
Yeah, well, they're very much like the Phillies of last year.
Right.
Is kind of who they are. They're just sort of like they're almost like too young to know any better. They don't have any pressure on them. Everybody assumes the Phillies are going to beat them,
Right.
and so they can just play free and loose. And who knows? Maybe one thing leads to another.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm looking at their statistics. 746 runs scored on the year versus 796 on the Phillies. They actually had a negative run differential
Did they?
at the end of the year. Yeah, they
Oh,
gave up
really?
761 by 15. So, you could call that even in baseball, I guess. But
Yeah.
they're a sneaky team. They took care of the Dodgers. And we'll just have to see. And if you look at the lineups, the hitting, it kind of favors them with the matchups, with the pitching matchups. But yeah, the game is in Philly.
Right.
I think the Phillies do have the experience of last year. What they have going for them is they know what it takes to make it to the World Series. So it's almost like this year they're going to make it there, and then they're going to win it. That's like the progression.
Is
So
that your prediction? Do you think they're going to win the World Series?
you know what? I do. I feel like this is the Phillies' year. And the reason I'm saying that is they've got a team that has played together for quite a while. They've got a team of great players, and more importantly, a team of great role players. So you look at Kyle Schwarber, not excuse me, not your quintessential number 1 hitter. We've had this discussion many times, but he doesn't hit the ball a lot, but when he does, it goes really far and he gets a
Right.
lot of walks. He plays his role. A lot of guys with his physicality would be like, why am I in the leadoff spot? I can hardly even lumber down to first base.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? I mean, I'm not saying he's slow. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
you look at a guy like him, he's your number 4 guy. But he plays the role. He accepts that role. I think Harper accepts his role. He's aggressive on the base pass, so he's going to make a mistake once in a while. But not only does he accept that, and Pat says Phillies this year 0-24. I was kind of hoping for an O's Phillies, but anyway, not only does Harper accept that fact, but the team accepts the fact that look, he's going to try to pull out that extra base when he can, and once in a while he's going to get thrown out. It's just going to happen. But the aggressiveness that they have, they're on a mission, and that's why I said I thought they were going to handle Atlanta with not too much issue, without even doing any analysis. Because you're right, when it comes down to playoff time in baseball, the numbers don't really mean anything anymore. That's all in the past. So whether you won 110 games or you won 85 and squeaked into the playoffs. If you're hot at that time, if you're on a mission and you play good baseball and you don't give up, you can win. And yeah, I think they've got a pretty damn good shot at winning it. I don't think there's anybody in the American League right now that is going to match up with them. As far as,
I mean, Houston is still the defending champs.
Yeah, they are. But and could we get a rematch? That would be great. I think if we get a rematch, that could actually be a problem because it's the same thing. Yeah. Houston knows how to beat the Phillies.
Yep.
So, but we'll see. I know Houston won the first game.
Texas won the first game.
Oh, Texas won. That's right. Texas won the first game, and they're currently leading 5-3 right now.
Oh, are they? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't realize they were playing right now.
Yeah, they are. So, So yeah, what I'm looking for tonight is I'm looking for Wheeler to get through the middle of that lineup. That's been his problem. If he can get through the middle of the lineup 2 times around, I think, I don't think he'll make it 3 times through that lineup. I'm not saying he'll be out of the game, but I think the 3rd time around, that's if he's on his game, that's when they'll start hitting him because they'll start to time him better. And by then, the Phillies, who have had trouble with Zach Gallen, they're going to have to they're going to have to score early. I don't think this particular game is going to come down to the bottom of the 8th or the bottom of the 9th, or the top of the 9th or the bottom of the 9th. I think this game is going to be won early. So if the Phillies can put up 3 or 4 runs in the first 3 innings, I think they can coast through the rest of this game. If they can't, it's going to be trouble for them. There's my prediction.
All right.
I'm out.
So basically what you're kind of saying is if the Phillies play well, they're likely to win.
Here we go.
And if they play poorly, there's a good chance that they might lose.
That's not what I said at all, but that is always the case in every game that you play.
You are correct.
When you're playing Go Fish, if you play well, you will win. If you don't, you will lose. Yeah. No, what I'm saying is in order to win this game, they're going to have to score early. They can't go down because if they go down, it means if they go down early, if they're down 3 or 4 runs early, it means the middle of that lineup is hitting Wheeler. And now they're going to have to play catch up. And yes, we all know that when you're behind, it's hard to play catch up no matter what. But what I'm saying is that, and Pat says that's the analysis we tune in for. Of course, Pat, he's right on track. He's right on track. I don't know.
That's what I'm saying.
There we go. That's exactly right. So anyway, I think the Phillies can win this series. I think they got to get out and they got to score runs early in this game. How about you, Schwaber? And then we'll wrap it up.
I think that they could win the series, but I don't think it's going to be as simple as people think.
It's going to be a sweep. The sweep.
I'm making my call at Phillies in 6.
Phillies in 6. I think the Phillies are going to win it in 5. How about that one? How about them apples? Huh?
Are they going to lose 1 at home and then win all 3 in Arizona?
Yeah, they're going to do that.
Okay.
That's what I think. I think they're going to make us wonder. They're gonna cause pause, if I may, and then they're just gonna sweep it on out and go on and win the damn World Series.
I'm all fired up now.
Yeah, maybe next week we'll have a little 76ers preview and some Flyer stuff. But for now, go Fightins. Game 1 of the NLCS set to start here in a little bit over an hour. Thanks for watching the Sports Porch Philadelphia all over the world. On LinkedIn, YouTube, X, and Facebook. And of course, we drop the podcast right after the show on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere you get your friggin' podcasts. And you can visit us online at theporcheslive.com, theporcheslive.com.
Theporcheslive.com. Click on the Philadelphia tab, the only tab that really matters.
That's right. Thanks, guys. We are
Thank you.
out. Boom.